All right, we are Facebook Live. Exciting show today. The one and only Jamie Benezri.
Mr. Delvecchio, thank you for having me, sir.
Rapid fire Q&A, legal questions. We're going to talk about everything. Legal marijuana.
Get your notepads out.
Spousal support.
I need a pen. I need a nervous tick.
Yeah.
We're going to be on in about a minute. Hiding in the background, we have Dr. Mark Sherman. There he is. Endocrinologist. We'll be talking to us about diabetes on the second half.
Looks like I'm
Hope you enjoy the show.
I don't know what I
We'll
read.
be on soon.
How soon?
Probably 30 seconds.
You gonna tell me what I'm talking about? I don't even know.
Oh yeah.
What? Hey,
So
remember,
we're
when
gonna
that's
change
red,
the
we're on.
topic on you just to see how good you are.
Do I need those ear things?
No.
Here we go. Good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed, the show about the ins and outs of family life. So your life isn't going exactly as planned. Well, you're not alone, and we're here to help out. My name is Matt Delvecchio, specialize in free retirement home search and senior transition support. Here in studio with my co-host, Corey Sirota, clinical social worker and psychotherapist specializing in grief and loss. Corey, coming right up on the first half of today's show, dealing with some of the most important legal issues that families face. Well, this is going to be a fun one. We're going to have a rapid-fire Q&A with legal expert and founder of Legal Logic, Jamie Benezri. We're going to be tackling all the hot topics like legal marijuana right now, marital issues, spousal support, child support, even how to contest a ticket. That's going to come up on the first half.
Jamie's in the house. Woo woo.
Let's do this. Let's do it.
I think I was talking to you, Corey, about we've been very fortunate. You had that wonderful keynote speaker at the Caregiver Conference last week.
Yep.
And I've been very fortunate. This week is a full week of presentations about helping moms, dads transitioning. I'll be at the Teapot, it's called. It's a senior center in Lachine on Monday. But was that?
How cute is that?
Yeah, no,
What
it's a
name.
great name.
Yeah.
I will be with a interesting group called Pioneers. This is all the retirees of the airline industry, Air Canada, the old CP industry. We've got 100 people registered for an event on Tuesday in Dorval, looking to, those that are looking to downsize and transition. And then on Wednesday, we'll be at RBC Dominion Securities downtown branch talking to wealth planners and a lot of, particularly, this is a women's group, a lot of adult daughters concerned about their folks. And so it will be a big week coming up.
So that's great, and we just thank you for letting us know. We always need to make sure that those open lectures also are recorded, or that people know how to access them, because I think they're so important, and we don't have enough information about that. So I'm thrilled that you keep doing this and that they keep becoming available.
No, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. So what do we have coming up on the second half?
So on the second half, I don't know if people really know this, but diabetes affects 1 in 10 Canadians. And we're going to be talking about that on the show, both diabetes and pre-diabetes, because we have one of Montreal's leading experts in the field who's going to be in the studio with us, Dr. Mark Sherman, and he's going to provide us with some very, very valuable information. And that's coming up on the second half of the show.
Yeah, we're very blessed to have Dr. Sherman, one of the Montreal's leading endocrinologists, and will be very interesting for all those of you who are concerned about diabetes, maybe not about yourselves, but you might have a family member or a friend. Will be very interesting. All right, Corey, let's get started.
Go.
At one point in time, you're probably going to need some legal advice. It may be for family reasons, whether it's for divorce or child support payments, maybe a cohabitation or prenup. Could be business reasons, real estate reasons, and in 3 days, Corey, October 17th, we're starting to hear more and more about legal cannabis issues, and that's why we brought in no one other than Jamie Benezri, owner of Legal Logic, master networker, philanthropist, and serial entrepreneur. And you want to know what the worst is, Corey? He's a really nice guy too.
I'm all right.
Wow.
It's fun. It's fun. It's amazing to interview you. So we are very excited to have you in the house.
Yeah, Jamie, thank you. We did this rapid fire Q&A session about 6-7 months ago, and it's a way of tackling many legal topics without paying a lawyer $400 or $500 an hour. And we're going to try to get this done in the next 20 minutes.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Ready.
All right, Jamie. Let's start with some potential cannabis issues.
Yes.
And we'll start with tenants' rights.
Yes,
All of a
absolutely.
sudden, you're in a condo or an apartment, and if you're like me, you cannot stand the smell of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of tenants have that same situation. So what do we do?
So we're seeing this. I mean, it's just like with cigarettes. I mean,
Right.
you can't. I mean, there's issues with cigarettes the same way. So as of right now, if you want your tenants not to smoke weed, not to get high with all the fumes and cause issues with your neighbors, put it in the lease. It's got to start being an express clause that we're putting in because default to that we fall prey to the law, and the law says, hey, we're allowed to do this. So now we have more and more issues and more cases that are being pled at the rental board, and now we're in a situation where tenants may have to start taking it orally or put it in their brownies if they want to get high, kind of in their own space.
Okay, fair enough. So now we're not smoking or consuming in our homes, in our apartments. But what about the implications about driving under the influence?
Yeah, this is going to be a tricky one. So obviously, I don't know about you, but at my home, we started receiving little pamphlets about this is the kind of the playbook with marijuana. So we're seeing more and more the government's getting involved with a little bit of teasing information. But as of right now, there's going to be the same way that we treat alcohol. We're going to be doing the same kind of check-ins with weed, or I should say marijuana. And if the police has the sense that you smell, that your eyes are bloodshot, that you're slow, that you're high, he can pull you over. He can administer some tests, use his discretion to make sure that you're not under the influence. And the consequences will be very similar to those that we see right now in the criminal code.
Which makes sense. I don't think the technology is quite there yet to test for marijuana as we do with blowing and getting the
That's
.08. So I think that could be a potential issue, gray area, where there's going to be a lot of discretion from the police. However, common sense. Think of it as
Common
what
sense,
you do with
you got it.
alcohol. The same
That's
thing
right.
with marijuana.
You got it.
All right, very good. It's going to be interesting the next couple of months to see how things are going because it will be a little bit of the wild
That's
west for the next
exactly
little
it.
bit,
Yeah.
and we'll have to all together.
Attach that to it, like they say in Quebecois, right? It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, we're going to switch gears, Jamie, in this rapid fire Q&A.
Let's go.
We're going to go to family law. All right, we're going to talk divorce. It affects about 50% of our population here in Quebec. I get a lot of people talking about child support, and I'm sure you get the same question. How long do I have to pay child support for?
My most recent case that I've had, even about a week ago, somebody calls me, says, hey, you know what? My child is 24, is kind of finishing university right now, and I'm still paying. And, is this, appropriate? When can I love my kids, but when can I stop paying? I have my own kind of expenses to worry about as well. So the litmus test really is are your children independent? Are they financially independent? And can they live without the money that you're going to be giving to them? And by cutting you off at that point, is it going to cause an issue for the children? Are they still in school? Are they still economically dependent on the parent that wants to withdraw the support? And that's really the ultimate test here.
So the child going for his MBA and then PhD and secondary
Yeah,
PhD.
yeah. The
graduating at
40-year-old
45.
MBA
Right.
student is a little bit of an issue with 2 children. Yeah.
That is Jamie Ben-Israel. He is on fire as per usual. Thank you. He's talking with us on Life Unrehearsed. He's from Legal Logic, and he is just sharing all kinds of legal, very relevant information with us. Along the same lines, we talked about child support. What about spousal support?
Yeah, so this is another one. I mean, a lot of people think that they get nervous. I was speaking to somebody yesterday, and they said, "Hey, I am moving in with my girlfriend. If we ever break up, is she going to be allowed to touch 50% of my home? Am I going to have to start paying her after 3 years? Does this whole concept of common law exist if I'm not married?" And it's this whole Lola thing that we discussed with Guy Laliberté and Cirque du Soleil. If you're not married in Quebec, you do not get the 50% rights and the family patrimony. Spousal support is a real thing, and the less economically favored spouse can go after the other. So that is a real thing, and that is, again, the litmus test is what's a normal period of time for that person to get back on their feet, get a job, whether it's a Walmart or whether they're an engineer able to get a job.
And it makes sense because at the end of the day, it's all about fairness. And if one is more at an advantage than the other, then
Sure.
The one at a disadvantage should get some form of compensation.
You
so
got
it does
it.
make sense.
Okay, the time is approaching close to 4:15, so we're going to have to go to a traffic update. But when we come back, do you know what one of the biggest mistakes you could make when it comes to not protecting your family? Stay tuned, and we're going to hear from Jamie. Right now, we're going out to the CJE Traffic Center. How are the roads, Lauren?
Good job,
Nailed
Jamie.
it, man.
Good
nailed
job.
it, nailed it, nailed it.
Oh yeah.
Man, all
Do you ever
this.
sweat?
I am sweating right now. Man. Rapid fire. Marijuana, family
Yeah.
law, tickets.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We tackled 3 or 4 already.
Yeah.
Good job.
Even I'm tired.
That's
Yeah.
right. There's Dr. Sherman.
You guys have a good way of wrapping it all up though. I'm just like, oh, let's segue. Good job.
Whoops, sorry
Good job,
about
good
that, Facebook Live
So
audience.
I'm
We're
gonna
getting
come
back.
back with that question.
Yeah.
And then you can elaborate, like you
Sure,
said,
of course,
on
of
whatever
course,
you
of
were
course.
going to say about all that stuff,
Mhm.
and then we're going to go into.
With the will question?
Yeah. That's your way.
Yeah, because you
Where there's a will, there's a way.
there's Will
That's
and
exactly it.
we're
There's
going
a
to.
will, there's a relative.
That's right.
When there's a will, there's a relative. That's what the doctor says. I love it.
We're going to get back into. You mentioned already about some of the prenups and cohabitation agreements, but that's we're going to go back to that one
Yeah.
because I think in Quebec people assume I'm common law, I'm covered.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's
That's an
what we're
important,
going
that's an
to
important one.
talk about. And that might be a secondary question: is do you recommend a prenup or
Yeah.
cohab?
Yeah.
That's a good
So
one.
we'll
That's a good
come
one.
back.
I like it.
You ready?
That's a good question. Yeah.
So we're going to be on around 420, 421, about, and then at around 427-ish. I don't know if you could see the clock there.
I can, yeah.
Around 427-ish. That's when we're going to head out, thanking you.
Cool.
And then Corey will do a teaser for second half.
Corey, Ivan is saying hi.
Hi,
See Ivan?
Thanks for listening.
For sure. What up, JM? What up, Morgenstein? You guys have any questions for Corey?
That's right.
You guys have any questions for Matt? How about Dr. Sherman? He's taking diabetes questions for the next 5 minutes. Do you think you're suffering from diabetes?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm suffering from
Parents,
diabetes.
you can handle anything.
You know, Dr. Sherman corrected me. That's why I said 1 in 10. He said it's not 1 in 10. It's 1 in. It was. We had 1 in 3.
Well, I
1 in 10.
included pre-diabetes in the 1 and 3. That's why. So I'm glad you put 1 and 10 because it's the stat is 1 in 10 for diabetes. I think they like to glamorize it a little bit by saying 1 in 3, but it includes pre-diabetes. But let's go with the 1 in 10.
Yeah, if you're gonna call it diabetes, you're better off sticking to
Yeah.
1 in 10. And
Yeah.
You can talk about pre-diabetes too.
Yeah.
It's about 20%.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
1 in 5. Okay.
More as you get older. Yeah.
What's your favorite question?
You know, people have a lot of fun with ticket questions. People have a lot of fun with this because the most misconceptions come with the tickets.
Really?
The 2 we want to talk about on our questions are going to be distracted driving
Yes.
and stop signs.
Yes.
Did you get another popular question that we might add if we have time?
I think with respect to when it comes to tickets, most people think that the radar gun. Cops have to show them the radar gun. The stops I'll get into, people have the misconception that they stop for 3 seconds,
Yeah.
or that there's this whole. I mean, that doesn't really exist.
So you're saying with the radar gun, because we don't have that, we'll add
And the
that.
cell phones too is a good one
Yeah,
because
that's gonna be the
the
first
most
one.
people
Yeah.
think that just by touching the phone, if they're not using it as a phone or they're just on GPS and they're just manipulating it to
Yeah.
find an address, that it doesn't count as a ticket.
It does?
That does not.
It doesn't.
It
Okay.
does not.
But it's got to be on a stationary. You can't have it in your hand.
Even if you touch it on a stationary device,
Yeah.
it counts
Counts as
as a 5-point cell phone ticket.
Really?
I'm on Waze
Yes.
and I'm touching it and it's stationary.
You're cooked.
Really?
You're cooked.
Okay, we have to ask.
Oh
about
my
that.
god.
You're cooked.
I thought. Oh my god.
Yes.
That's bad.
I thought you could touch it.
No,
What if-
don't touch.
What about answering the phone? It's ringing. Can you?
Don't
click?
touch.
Don't touch.
Don't touch.
Wow.
But it's touching. Touching.
See, you learned something at
Don't
Facebook
touch!
Live.
Touching. Don't touch. So that's our motto. Don't touch.
No,
Wow.
don't touch.
Don't touch.
Okay, so we absolutely have to
Ooh.
get into that.
Oh my god.
Mm,
I'm gonna hear me freak out again. Oh my god.
So you got to text.
When
Jamie, when are you radiating that lien in Laval?
You could tell. Hold on. You could tell Richard that it's been submitted.
We can't respond,
We can't
unfortunately.
You can't respond to
No,
that.
it's a CJAD
Well-
texter.
So funny.
Or the not lien, lean. A lean. Okay.
lean. Not like Shane
Oh,
Leanne.
here we go.
Can you hear the music? You have to hear the music. Oh, I come back. Oh wow. Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corey Sirota with my co-host Matt Del Vecchio, and we are rapid fire questioning and answering. Well, we're questioning, he's answering. Legal expert Jamie Ben-Ezri, founder of Legal Logic. He's amazing. Right before the traffic break, I asked a very long question. I asked the question, do you know what one of the biggest mistakes you could make when it comes to not protecting your family? What's the answer?
So that long-winded, it's not that long-winded, that was pretty concise. It's really, making sure that your family's protected means that you have the master plan, the will. When there's a will, there's a way,
Okay.
like you quipped earlier, and that's so true. When there's no will in the family, and you've seen this, you know this, you're in this game, if there's no will and we don't know where the assets go to, it creates tension in the family. We think that I had a better relationship with my mother, so I'm entitled to more. So unfortunately, when I inherit a legal file on that end, it becomes a lot of family issues that boil to the surface. So then I play 10% lawyer, 90%, therapist. So it's really, it's really that's the roadmap to protect the assets that you've built over your lifetime. Simple as that.
It's so important, a will, and I'll just add to it, first of all,
Please.
review the will on a regular
Right.
basis. Things change, and in my world, dealing with a lot of moms and dads transitioning, get your power of attorneys and protection mandates also updated if you can. That's just you're avoiding problems.
Such a good point. I know there's some people in the studio that can do that for you, but such an important point. We overlook it. We think that it'll never happen to us,
That's
but
right.
100% true.
All right, Jamie Ben-Ezri, rapid fire Q&A. We're switching gears again. All right, in Quebec, a lot of, we'll call it common law arrangements.
Common law. Yeah.
And I think there are assumptions that if you're common law, you're covered. So,
Like we said right before the break, the misconception, I move in with my girlfriend, is she going to take half my house?
Right.
Your girlfriend is not taking half your house. Just like Guy Laliberté's common law, with air quotes, was not able to take, his patrimony, 50% of his patrimony, because they're not married. And there's no common law in Quebec. It's essentially you're married or you're not, and if you're not, get yourself protected. If you've injected money by way of rent or to the common expenses, document that, notarize that, to make sure that if you have a breakup, you're able to claw back that portion that you invested in this other man or woman's house. Super important.
Speaking of which, what's your take on prenups?
So prenups, there's a default regime in Quebec. The civil code protects, spouses of all kinds. And prenups are important when you want to make stipulations of certain things that should not belong in the family patrimony. So by default, we fall subject to this family pot, which I think is great. It's a great safety net for the couples that get into a marriage. And if you want to remove certain things, if you want, a Harley or a home or something that is not part of that, there needs to be this, we'll call it a prenup for all intents and purposes.
that's Jamie Ben-Ezri here on Life Unrehearsed. Matt Del Vecchio and Corey Sirota. We're drilling him with a whole bunch of legal
Yeah.
questions, many different topics. Jamie, of course, owner of Legal Logic, and thank you again for being with us. We're going to switch gears again, and we're going to start tackling a hot topic that you get very often at the office is contesting tickets.
Yeah.
And
Love
there more and more in June, in fact, end of June, distracted driving laws have changed, much more strict. And I don't think people realize the scope of the penalties and the points. So I'm going to give an example. I've got my mobile phone in my car. It's actually, I'm being a good boy, it's in a stationary, it's I'm not holding it in my
I see
hand.
you coming. I see you
Okay?
coming.
All right.
I know where you're going.
And I'm on Waze or the phone rings,
Sure.
and so I got to do a little something on my
You got
phone, and I touch my phone
You got
while
it.
driving. That should be legit, right?
So you are absolutely incorrect, sir,
Oh my God!
to say that you are safe if you're on Waze, even if your phone portion of the device is disabled. Any manipulation, whether it's your thumb, your pinky, or you have gloves on, and you're touching a cellular device, you're gonna be dinged. 5 points. I think we're in the range of $400 at this point.
First time offense?
It is first time. There's no first time. It could be 13 times in a row.
Wow, my.
It doesn't matter if you're a grandmother. It doesn't matter if you're a brand new driver. Anything in between, anything goes. Super high consequences now. So people have this misconception that, hey, I wasn't on my phone.
Yeah, I feel
Um,
if it's fixed, it's fixed. There,
It's
Jamie.
fixed. It
Help
doesn't
me out
matter.
here.
You can't touch it.
Jamie, do you know a good
Hands
lawyer
up.
that I can test this?
Yeah.
You know what? We'll find you somebody in Quebec. We'll find you. We'll find
Wow,
you somebody.
that
So,
is true.
don't
That's a
touch.
misconception.
Don't
Do
touch.
not
Don't
touch
touch.
under any circumstances.
Touching.
Don't touch.
Don't touch.
Don't touch.
Oh my God! I thought I was in the clear. I thought the thing
It
just
is.
like you, Matt.
You know what? It is not a defense to go in front of a judge and say, "Judge, I was not on the phone." It doesn't matter. And now there's operations where police officers rent out a bus. They look like they're like on a school trip,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and they're hidden with their binoculars, and they're waiting for somebody to touch. They're waiting for a Matt Del Vecchio to touch his screen to put in an address
I
on
was
it.
on St. Catherine Street in a bumper to bumper. I wasn't moving.
Yes.
3 cops on a bike in between the 2 cars,
Yeah.
coming from behind
They're
and
unbelievable.
looking in every car. You know,
Okay.
so they're up there. Watch it. Don't touch.
So,
Don't touch.
So I hope people are hearing this and recognizing it, like my family.
The Sorotas.
The Sorotas, the Frankels, make sure. Okay, so that's one. And can we contest?
You can contest, but there's a big difference between contesting because you have an excuse, meaning it was urgent, or my wife wanted to know what was for dinner, and
That is urgent.
it depends. Yeah, I mean, it's for me it's urgent too, but that's an excuse. A judge
fair
cannot
enough.
acquit you with those facts.
All right, Jamie Benezri from Legal Logic. We have 2 more real quick questions.
Let's do it.
Super rapid fire. Stop signs.
Yeah.
This so-called American stop, and you get busted.
So they-
what's
this is-
what's the rule?
So, I think it comes from a sitcom. I don't even know where it comes from. But the American stop concept is when you roll through. Here we have the impression that if we make a 3-second stop, or there's really no defined parameters in the law. It's basically you got to stop au panneau d'arrêt at the panel. So if
Okay.
there's a white line and it's not at the exact same location as the panel, rely on the panel.
Rely on-
Stop, fully immobilize your vehicle. You should get to 0, and then you proceed. If the police officer is there, you should have a visual on the police officer, and then you have all the criteria of making a proper defense if you get dinged.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. What about radar guns?
Radar guns. Okay, so radar guns are tricky. Now we have these excessive speeding tickets. If you get dinged, it's on your record for 10 years.
Mm.
Points come back after 2, but on your record for 10 years. So this comes, for insurance companies, and can cause all kinds of issues with insurance. But the cop does not have the obligation to show you the gun on the spot. The cop does not have the obligation to debate what speed you were or were not going on. But you can contest it. You need to establish that you were going at an alternative speed. That is the only plausible defense.
Jamie, we have so much more to ask you. We're out of
Yeah.
time already. Jamie Benezri, owner of Legal Logic, thank you so much for being on the show.
I love being here. Thank you.
Yeah.
And how can people reach you?
They can reach me, Jamie Benizri, on LinkedIn, Legal Logic as well. For tickets, anything that goes to ticketaid.ca on Facebook as well. And I'm pretty decent on Instagram, so I spend a lot of time there.
Oh,
Thank you very
okay.
much. You're just great.
Thank you so much. I want a Jamie Benezri in my pocket, so I can just pull him out
I
when I
am
have
your
the
pocket,
question. It would be great. So thanks again.
Thank
Coming
you.
up after the news, we're going to be talking about diabetes, the good, the bad, and the ugly, with one of Montreal's leading endocrinologists.
You did it,
I
Corey.
did it.
All right.
Dr. Mark Sherman. That's coming up right after our news break.
Good job.
I said news,
Good,
I said
good,
break,
good.
I said
That's a
news.
wrap, ladies and
That's a
gentlemen.
wrap.
Okay.
All right, we're wrapping up
All right,
Facebook
guys.
Live for the first
Au
session.
revoir, Corey.
Au
Au
revoir.
revoir.
Au
Merci
revoir,
beaucoup.
everyone.
Bye bye.
That's it.
Say
See you
bye,
guys later.
Jamie.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you.